What's up, guys? So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Pocono race, really the finish and all the controversy going on right now. I'm going to give you my opinions on it. Um, I'm sure some of you are not going to like my opinions, uh, but so be it. I'm going to ask you guys, just as a thought experiment, and I know it's obviously going to be harder to do than just saying, hey, just do it. But try to take off your fanboy hat just for this video. That means I don't want you to look at any of the people involved in this conversation as either people you hate, people you root for. I'm a fan of this guy, I hate that guy. I want you to take every individual that I'm going to talk about and just look at them as a blank driver. You don't cheer for them, you don't hate them, it's just a driver. I want you to sort of look at things from above, looking down on the sport of NASCAR. Okay? It's not easy. It might sound a little bit silly, but try to do that just for this video. Because one of the things that I want to say before I get into what I'm going to talk about is it's no secret that in the sports world, not just sports, really anything that you can discuss, in this case, sports, fans have an extremely difficult time separating their personal feelings from facts and detaching themselves from that as a fan. It's very difficult, right? But let's try to do that because it's insane what I'm seeing on social media. The reaction of fans with all of this stuff going on, to me, is insane. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just from a different generation. Maybe, you know, maybe it's the way I'm built. I view things a certain way, and I just have a hard time understanding how other people can see things the way they do, right? Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm wrong. But I see some insane things. Like, we all know that Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin got disqualified, and their finishes were disqualified at the end of the race because of a post-race inspection finding an infraction. Okay? It means they cheated. Saying that, remember, you're not a fan, you're not a hater or a fan. You're just two drivers got caught, two teams got caught with this infraction. They found some tape somewhere it shouldn't have been for aerodynamic purposes. The reaction from fans, I've heard everything, and each thing I've heard is silly, to put it mildly. People say things like, "Oh, why didn't they catch this infraction in the pre-race inspection? Surely this means there's a conspiracy." That's ridiculous. These inspections are not perfect. You can't find everything. So that's why sometimes you do inspect specific cars after a race. You don't know what you might have missed. And you can do a more thorough inspection after the race. People think that, oh, well, just inspect every car. That'll take days to do a thorough inspection. Okay? It's not feasible. It's not something that's realistic or could really happen. This is the best we can do. Then I've heard people say things like, what about everyone else? Surely other people are cheating too. What about the other guy? That type of bullshit. Again, more embarrassing shifting and deflection. Just focus on the fact that two drivers, two teams got busted doing something they knew they weren't supposed to do. That's cheating. That's the only fact that should be in your brain. But people don't do that. Now, if it's a driver they like, they come up with all this bullshit excuses, defenses, deflections. If it's a driver they don't like, then they go the opposite way. That's the problem with this community, with the fan base, that everything is based on whether or not you like the person that's the focus of a topic or a debate. And that's what's wrong with discussing these things, because it all comes down to people that like a certain driver, they're going to defend them. People that hate a certain driver, they're going to find reasons to criticize them. And it's all based on these personal attachments. It should be only about the facts. So these guys get disqualified. The win gets taken away, which is the way it's supposed to happen. This is what I've wanted. You get busted doing something you're not supposed to do, cheating to get an advantage. I don't care who you are. And I promise you, I don't care if it's Daniel Suarez or Tyler Reddick or Bubba Wallace or anyone that I root for. I don't care. I would be the first one to say, drop the hammer. Whatever the rule book says, drop the hammer. I don't want you to take it easy. You have to send a message, because when I'm telling you guys to look at the sport from an eagle's eye view, not as a fan of particular people, what's best for NASCAR is that NASCAR is on top of this. Keep in mind, in my opinion, and I mean, if you've been paying attention to this season, this is one of the most competitive, exciting seasons I can remember. In terms of just results, I can't remember another NASCAR season that's been this diverse in terms of people being competitive, having this many different winners. Are we at the halfway point of the year yet? It's not so much about just only the big teams dominating. You're seeing other people in the mix actually being competitive week to week. This is good. And then you ask yourself, why is this happening this year? Well, it's clearly this new car. This new car is a success. Is it perfect? No. Has every race been a great, amazing race? No. But overall, it's been a pretty solid season. It's been exciting. You don't know who's going to win going in. This is good. And the reason that this new car is working this well is because NASCAR has been strict in what these teams can and can't do to these cars. So now it's not about the car. It's about the driver. It's about the crews, right? So even a driver who's actually racing well and having a good day and doing everything, the pit crew can screw it up for them. But that's part of racing. This is what we want, I would think. But you look at social media, you look all over the place, you hear people complaining and whining about this and that. Oh, he should have kept the win. The people that actually sat at the race and watched the guy go past the finish line first, they deserve to have that guy, be the winner. This is everything I'm hearing from fans is embarrassing. I can't believe the shit that I'm hearing and reading on Twitter. So if you take your fanboy hat off and it's not and you're not focused on this is my driver or I hate this guy, then I don't know how you don't come to the conclusion that these guys need to have the book thrown at them. They knew what they were doing. They did it to two of their cars. And I don't care how you sugarcoat it, it's cheating. And I've seen people say things like, well, I don't think a little piece of tape is really going to make that big of a difference. Why do you think a team would do that and take a risk like that and embarrass themselves like that and take a chance like that if they didn't think that it actually makes a difference? Don't come out here and tell people bullshit like that, like, oh, it's a little piece of tape. They did it for a reason because they know that it works. Now, how well does it work? I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to get into stupid semantics or arguments with people about how much of a difference does, an inch of tape over here make, and covering up the intake over here. I don't give a fuck. It makes a difference. That's what matters. And they got busted. And they know they got busted. So stop making excuses for these guys. Stop fucking bitching and moaning and complaining about what NASCAR is supposed to do this. If you care about the integrity of NASCAR as a sport, then you should be the first ones to say, drop the fucking hammer. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's my driver or somebody else's driver. I hear people say things like, it's not the drivers who are cheating. This is a team sport. The Joe Gibbs organization cheated. And I'm sorry to tell you, it taints everyone. It just amazes me to see the kind of shit that I'm seeing from this community. And I'm not speaking about everyone. If you're not one of these guys, then don't take it personal. I'm not speaking about you. And I didn't say the whole community 100%, but I'm saying a large part of this community. Go spend some time on Twitter and you'll see what I'm talking about. You got Chase Elliott fans saying one thing, you got Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch fans, Denny Hamlin fans saying another. Oh, NASCAR wanted Chase Elliott to win. And coming up with these stupid conspiracy theories. Look, man, as far as Chase Elliott winning, I'm no Chase Elliott fan either. I don't like any of these guys. But I'm not looking at it through that lens. So, knowing that these two cars got caught cheating, then the only option and the way it should be is that the next highest finisher wins the race. So, as far as Chase Elliott is concerned, he's the winner. And I'm not one of these idiots that are going to tell you he didn't deserve it, he didn't earn it, it was a gift. The highest finisher of a race is the winner. That's the way it works. And if the highest finisher turns out to be a fucking cheater, then you eliminate that person. Then what? You go to the next highest finisher. In this case, it was the third place car. What part of that don't people understand? Stop looking at it like, oh, I fucking hate Chase Elliott. He's the golden boy. I don't like him. NASCAR wanted him to win and blah, blah, and all this other bullshit. He's the highest finisher when you eliminate the cheaters. Okay? He deserved the win. That's the way it works. So, now we hear that Michael McDowell got busted. and they dropped the hammer on him. This is where the story for me gets interesting, because as much as I want to commend NASCAR for trying to be tough, what they did with the Gibbs organization is a slap on the wrist. And I'm going to show you why. Okay? Let's look down at Mr. Hamlin's tweets. So here 2 hours ago, can we switch penalties? Ours had way more playoff implications. So here's Bob Pockris. When I asked Brad Morin on Sunday about additional penalties to the Kyle Busch Hamlin cars, he said, not from what we've seen. So the only thing they did to the two Gibbs cars is send them to the back. They took the win away from Hamlin, and they gave him a second to last place finish, and they gave Kyle Busch a last place finish. That is the equivalent of a DNF. Now, at first, you might think, whoa, that's a harsh penalty. No, it's not. A DNF can happen any week. And for these teams, these guys are competitive every fucking week. They're in the playoff mix. One DNF is not going to make or break their season. This was a slap on the wrist. All they did was send them to the back, basically gave them DNFs. And they took the win away from Hamlin. That's a slap on the wrist. Did you see what they did to Keselowski earlier in the year? That's dropping the hammer. They didn't drop shit on the Gibbs organization. They gave them a slap on the wrist. And here you got Brad Moran, he's some high up exec for NASCAR. So they asked, are there going to be additional penalties? Not from what we've seen. So they don't want to do anything else. They don't want to deal with, the playoff implications this might have. They are showing favoritism. This is bullshit. So it goes on to say, which I interpret as they didn't view the JGR 11 and 18 violations as egregious, impactful as the RFK 6, the Keselowski infraction from earlier, and the Front Row Motorsports with Michael McDowell violations. So with Michael McDowell, they went way further. They docked them 100 points, plus I think 10 playoff points or something. I gotta try to find that to be exact. The point is, they dropped the hammer, and I don't have a problem with that. I like that. I want that. I don't care who it is. If it happened to Suarez, I would be the first to say, drop the hammer, because I care about the sport. A lot of you guys, you don't care about the sport, the integrity. You care about your favorite driver and how these things impact them. You don't care that they were caught cheating. You just care that they don't get penalized too harshly. You make excuses. That's my fucking problem with the community, and this is my problem with NASCAR. This is why people look at NASCAR and have questions. So they're making a big deal out of this, making it sound like, oh, look, they really spanked the Gibbs cars. They took a win away. They lost $300,000 or of the purse, or $100,000, whatever the fuck it was. And they sent them to the back. At the end of the day, all they did was pretty much put them in a position of like if they had a DNF, which is it's a hit, but it's a fucking slap on the wrist. This will have no impact on their playoff chances or their season overall. None. And they were, How do you separate these infractions? Listen. Maybe you could make a case that, okay, this was a little more egregious, blah blah blah. What the Gibbs teams did was on purpose. They knew what they were doing. It was to affect the arrow. How NASCAR can sit there and be like, well, we're just gonna take the win away and send them to the back, lose those points. Like I said, basically DNF. So this is why JGR did not appeal. One, because they would lose. This is a clear violation. They got busted. So an appeal, they would lose the appeal. But many teams know they're going to lose an appeal. They still appeal. Just maybe they can get a reduced penalties or something. But why didn't JGR appeal? One, they were busted cold. They probably don't want to make a big public spectacle. They'd probably just be like, you know what, let's just fucking try to move on from this. But the big reason is that they don't want to put NASCAR in a worse position. And if they appeal, then NASCAR is going to be like, now you're fucking giving us a hard time. You were busted. You got busted. And now you want to appeal. Now we have to be a lot harder on you. Instead, they were like, okay, you're not going to appeal. We're all too happy to just let bygones be bygones. We're taking the win away. We're putting these guys to the rear of the field. And everybody walks away. And Joe Gibbs gives a fake, apology and trying to make it sound like, oh, this is something that was an oversight. And, we didn't catch it. They're not going to come out and say, yeah, we tried to get an advantage and it was wrong and we shouldn't have done it and we'll never do it again. They're not going to say that. So they're going to downplay it, but that's why they didn't appeal it. And this is a fucking slap on the wrist, and this is the kind of shit that makes people question the integrity of NASCAR. Because then they turn around and they issue 100 points. They suspended the crew chiefs. They did all kinds of shit that maybe there were suspensions for the Gibbs and Hamlin teams, but they didn't mention it. All they talked about so far were taking the win away and sending both cars to the rear of the field, which is basically the points they lost is the equivalent of a DNF. Had they had a DNF early in the race. And neither one of these guys, this isn't going to affect either one of these guys. So they got a slap on the wrist. So let's go to the next step, okay? Now we get personal. Now we can get personal. And I'm going to explain to you why I never liked Denny Hamlin. Just my opinion. It's just me. Don't get triggered. If you're a Kyle Busch fan or a Denny Hamlin fan, try to maintain your, don't try not to get triggered, okay? This is just me. One guy whose opinion means absolutely nothing. This is just for those of you who tune in just because you, for some reason, care about my 2 cents on this subject. But here's why I don't like this guy. And he never, always rubbed me the wrong way. Here's the latest tweet. Can we switch penalties? Ours had way more playoff implications. Again, bullshit. They got the equivalent of 1 DNF. This doesn't affect their fucking playoff chances. These guys are competing for wins every fucking week. They're going to be just fine. Okay? You're going to say that Michael McDowell has less penalties than you? This is him playing victim. This is him pretending that they got a raw deal. But the worst part of this is that he doesn't have the self-awareness to see how bad this looks. That you got caught cheating. Your team got caught cheating. But you don't have the self-respect or dignity to just keep your head down and move forward and say, let's try to get past this. If you're going to make a statement, say, I'm embarrassed about what happened. I believe in integrity. I am going to do everything I can to make sure that we never cross that line again. I don't know. You guys might be laughing at me right now. You might be saying, "Who the hell is this guy? I mean, what's wrong with this guy? He's living in a fantasy world." Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Maybe it's the way I was raised. Maybe it's my experience in life. I would be so fucking ashamed to be posting garbage like this. But he doesn't see that. He doesn't have the self-awareness to know that this is an embarrassing tweet. That you instead of keeping your fucking mouth shut and not even fucking give an opinion on someone else's penalties, that you're out here spewing this garbage. You got a slap on the wrist. This is why I don't like people like this. My instincts, they rarely ever fail me. And I never liked him. Now, here's another gem. This was yesterday. Live on eBay, one tainted trophy and one used bottle of champagne. So he thinks this is funny. Drinking the champagne and displaying the trophy. And he calls it a tainted trophy because it is tainted. And he jokes that it's live on eBay. First of all, I know he's joking. So don't fucking tell me, oh, you can't take a joke, he's just kidding. This isn't the fucking time to joke about shit like this. You should be ashamed and embarrassed. And live on eBay. Who the fuck are you to put that trophy? Does not belong to you. That trophy, I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. It now belongs to Chase Elliott. And I know he already said that he doesn't want the trophy, that if Denny Hamlin wants to keep it, he can have it, that he doesn't want to win that way. That's a commendable thing to say. And I respect that. And even though I'm not a Chase Elliott fan, I respect that. But that's your trophy. Don't be ashamed to say, you know what, I think I would like that trophy. I deserve it. I was the highest finisher who didn't cheat. So you think you can put somebody else's trophy on eBay? This is how fucking clueless this guy is. He's admitting it's a tainted trophy. No, don't put the trophy on eBay. Give the trophy to its rightful owner. That would be Chase Elliott. And I say that as somebody who doesn't like Chase Elliott. But unlike most NASCAR fans, I don't care if it's somebody I like or don't like. And if this here was Daniel Suarez, I would be saying the same thing. I can promise you. Because I'm not like a lot of you guys that are fucking hypocrites. So, yeah, this tweet that he thinks is hilarious, to me is embarrassing. And this is just another reason why I don't fucking like this guy. This is, I can't root for people like that. And here's the last thing I want to say. When I saw the end of the race and I watched the celebration, As much as I don't like Denny Hamlin, I actually felt something genuine. Like, I actually felt happy for that moment. I swear to God, I actually, for that moment when he was celebrating with his daughter, I forgot how much I hated him. And by the way, I want to clear something up before I say anything else. When I say hate, I don't mean that literally. Hate is just something, a word I use, and I would hope most of you guys use as a substitute for lack of a better word. As a sports fan, when you say you hate a specific person, I don't mean literal. I don't mean hate. Hate is a very strong word, so I don't want people to take it literally. I just say hate because I'm not sure what other word to use. Okay? I don't, I don't hate Denny Hamlin, but as much as I dislike him, I forgot for that moment because what I saw was a young girl, his daughter. I don't know how old she is, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And I saw her crying. I saw how happy she felt to share that moment with her father. And you stop and you think, what, when you were that age, how many people can say that they had a moment like that with their father or their mother, where you could share a moment like that you could then get to ride around the car with your father after he won a NASCAR Cup race. That's a memory that will last a lifetime. I promise you, until your dying days, when you're old and gray, you will still remember that moment. That's what I got for a brief period. And I actually felt kind of good for Denny that he could share that moment with his daughter. And I felt really good for her. And that's what bothers me about this. That not only did they get caught cheating, right? And even I don't want to hear about, oh, the driver doesn't know, he had no idea. Even if you want to say that, guess what? After he found out and was shocked about what his team did, that's the time to stop and say, I'm not proud of this. I'm not proud to be part of this team doing this. That's the proper reaction. And to have that moment tainted forever, I feel terrible for her. And I feel bad for NASCAR. Now, NASCAR, they did the right thing. They did an inspection. They found an infraction. They took the win away. So I don't have a problem initially that they did what they had to do. Because the most important thing is the integrity of the sport. The problem is that a day later, 2 days later, and they're not going to do anything else. They're not taking any more points away. They're not dropping the hammer. This is not dropping the hammer, taking the win away and just giving them last place points. What they did to Michael McDowell, that's dropping the hammer. And that's what they should do to everyone who violates the rules that NASCAR repeatedly told them, we don't want you fucking around with this car. And anybody who's a real NASCAR fan should take off your fanboy hat when it comes to these drivers and put on your fucking thinking cap and say, as a fan of the sport, even if it's my guy, drop the fucking hammer. Because this is not good for NASCAR. Because now you got a cesspool of people arguing back and forth. And you got, fans of one guy saying, oh, look at the point, look at what NASCAR did to this guy, but he didn't do it to this guy. Then you got fans of another guy saying, well, this is worse because, he doesn't keep he doesn't keep the win. But It's all bullshit because NASCAR is not being even-handed. And this went under the radar for a lot of people. A lot of people are still like, "Oh man, it's a tough penalty, NASCAR's really tough." No, no. They gave Joe Gibbs Racing a slap on the wrist. They dropped the hammer on Keselowski and on Michael McDowell, as they should. But my problem is they gave a kid gloves treatment to Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. And that's what fucking happened. And those are my thoughts on this. This is not a cool thing for the sport. And I care as a NASCAR fan. I'm a NASCAR fan first before I root for individuals. And as a fan, I would never want a driver that I root for to get a win they didn't deserve because they did something they shouldn't have done. And I would damn sure wish that a driver that I rooted for would not want to keep a fucking trophy that doesn't belong to them, that they admit is tainted. The right thing to do is to hand this trophy over to Chase and say, "I know you said that you don't care to have it, but you deserve it. You were the highest finisher after we got disqualified. So you deserve it. You earned it." Don't go around telling, all these people talking about, "Oh, it was a gift. It was this." Nobody wants to see somebody win like that. I don't want that. But I live in reality. Right? Those are my thoughts. I don't. It's been a crazy week. NASCAR, you know, you guys have a good product right now. It's not perfect. We haven't had every race hasn't been the most amazing. You're about to watch a shitty race next week because I think probably the Indy road course is definitely the worst road course. I'd be shocked if we see an exciting race. But overall, for the most part, we've seen some good racing. We've seen really competitive. We've seen all kinds of drivers in the mix because now it's more about the drivers and not so much about these teams. And here we go with these powerhouse fucking teams cheating. And the Michael McDowell thing, I hate seeing that because even though I'm not really a Michael McDowell fan, I thought up to this point that was the biggest story of the year. And I'm a Trackhouse fan. And yeah, Trackhouse is a big story. What they've done is a big deal. But then that's not the biggest story of the year. Up to this point, to me, it was Michael McDowell. If you see how competitive he's been running every week for a small team, that to me was the biggest story of the year that nobody really talks about. And it gets tainted. It gets tainted. And this is why it's important for NASCAR to not fuck around. And don't play these games where, this infraction wasn't as egregious as this. I don't know how. You clearly tell people don't touch these cars. You know what you're not supposed to do and what you're supposed to do with these cars. And for the most part, it's been working. We've been getting really good competitive racing. We have more winners now than ever. The racing has been pretty good. This is one of the best seasons I can remember. And we're not even at the halfway point. Or we may be somewhere, and then you can't fuck around with these penalties. You got to drop the hammer. And he knows he got off. He knows. Can we switch penalties then? Ours had way more playoff implications. Fuck you. You're not fooling me. You're fooling a lot of your fans. You're fooling a lot of people that don't understand what's going on. and don't know how to take off their fan hat, don't know how to be objective. Those are the only people that you're fooling. You're not fooling me. And I don't I this is why I can't root for certain guys. This just rubs me the wrong way. Stay off fucking social media for a couple days. You should be ashamed to be part of this shit. And you're just joking around and then trying to make it sound like you had a I'm fucking done. I usually say I look forward to your comments, but I'm not sure if I am. I know a lot of you guys are not gonna like my take. A lot of you guys did not like my last video, but I stand behind my opinions, and yeah, it is what it is. So I look forward to your comments later.